Marry what you will, my freaky darlings. Are you loving the holidays? I am. Everybody is loving the holidays. And if not, if you're feeling a little grinchy or scroogey, you just need a little pick-me-up to get in the spirit. How about a nice holiday movie or special? That'll cure your case of the blues. Always does the trick for me. You know. So, of course, I'm already feeling good to begin with. I adore holiday movies and specials. All those gentle fairy tales and fables that, well, like any media, we shouldn't approach them uncritically. We can still enjoy and embrace their positivity and timeless themes of love and peace and innocence and happiness and friendship and family. But this video isn't about any of that. It's about Batman Returns, which is vicious, tenebrous, libidinous, and just so sinfully subversive. A few have gone as far to call it an anti-Christmas movie. But is it? It's the holidays in Gotham City. If Gotham in the '89 film was noir, the '92 is a fashy, brutalist dreamscape. The perfect setting for our gloriously up cast of characters who will flirt, quip, scheme, and try to kill each other under the pale moonlight. There's a newly single Batman who, when he's not engaging in intense brooding sessions, spends his time absolutely whacking guys left and right with full police approval. Then corporate overlord Max Schreck is using any means necessary to get his power plant scam up and running, including getting a lascivious, murderous, former circus attraction elected mayor. At the same time, said attraction, the Penguin, plots to kidnap all the firstborn sons of Gotham and take them into the sewer where he will drown them in Shrek's toxic waste.
And we will snatch them, carry them into the sewer, and toss them into a deep, dark, watery grave.
I want to emphasize this. He doesn't decide to do his kidnap the children thing after he gets canceled by Batman. He is clearly shown to be planning to do this from the beginning. This isn't really important for the video, but I just have to point out, this was the villain's evil plan in a Batman movie from 1992. Finally, put upon working girl Selina Kyle gets knocked out of a window by Shrek, maybe killing her, it's unclear. But she's alive now, if not alright, and I mean alive in two senses. She's really alive for the first time in her life, and she just wants to get some revenge and have a little fun as her newly liberated self, Catwoman.
Meow.
Is that enough to count as a summary? It better be, because God knows I'm only going to get like one more sleep before Christmas. I totally just realized I left this bottle in the shot for that entire opening. So I hope you liked it, because that was my best take, and I'm not gonna get a better one. Too late now. I love this movie. I watch it every December, usually with Charlie Brown as a chaser. Batman Returns is a beautiful and ugly and fascinating film, but it's also a grim, frightening, and joyless affair. And I think that's why people refer to it as an anti-Christmas film. Not in a reactionary bozo war on Christmas kind of way, but a thematic analysis kind of way. It lacks all the feels we associate with Christmas films, and the themes of the holidays are all either defied or subverted. But in spite of its horror aspect,
and toss them into a deep, dark, watery grave.
It also doesn't feel the same as the long line of schlocky, scary Christmas flicks. So, I'm suspicious, or at least dissatisfied with this claim. I think to determine if this film is an anti-Christmas film, we should first clarify what a Christmas film is and study Batman Returns through that lens. What is and isn't a Christmas film has been a matter of some debate that has been growing over the last, decade or so. Is Die Hard actually a Christmas movie? Is Iron Man 3? If Die Hard is a Christmas movie, why is it? And what makes Batman Returns an anti-Christmas movie in comparison? My curiosity led me to an article, What Makes a Christmas Movie, on a site, blog, thing, Reel to Reel. The author, Blake Kemp, provides a series of reasonable criteria to use as a litmus test. If a film has 2 out of 3, it's a Christmas movie. Criteria 1. The movie must primarily be set during the holiday season. Well, because Batman Returns takes place in an American city in December, we are bombarded by Burtonized Christmas icons and imagery, which I just need to take a second to appreciate all of it. The chiaroscuro contrast of shadows and sooty concrete, plus the black costumes of Batman and Catwoman, shiny and rubbery and bondagey, contrasting unrealistically white, clean snow that's absolutely gorgeous to look at. This dichotomy is spotted with the bright colors of Christmas lights and decorations and other trad motifs. None of it's muted, but while the festive materials are everywhere, it also seems so repressed, as though the miasma of darkness is oppressing any potential cheer. Batman Returns obviously clears this first requirement. Which brings us to criteria 2, the inclusion of Christmas figures in a prominent role. Jesus, Santa, Frosty, etc. Emphasis on prominent role. So the Santa getting walloped with a sled in this one shot doesn't count, and thus Batman Returns fails to fulfill this criteria. Unless, hear me out here, I mean, if you think about it, isn't this just a movie where Batman has to save Christmas? Meaning, couldn't Batman himself count as a prominent Christmas figure? No? Alright, fine, he doesn't fulfill this criteria. Criteria 3. The film must have traditional Christmas themes. Peace, love, goodwill, but then Blake Kemp goes on to argue for an odd one. Fear. Citing the history of Christmas horror and Christmas ghost stories, and sure, those are things, but I wouldn't say that fear is a primary theme of the Christmas or holiday experience. But that does bring an interesting thought to mind, and I think we might need to slightly modify Blake Kemp's criteria to reflect that. To say that fear is part of the themes of Christmas, once again, I wouldn't consider it to be so, but to say so is to admit that everything, including the holidays, has a dark side. And the thing is, more often than not, a dark side is not an antithesis or a counterforce. The Joker is almost singular in Batman's villains for being Batman's antithesis. Batman's other villains are not opposites of Batman, they are negative variations of his component parts. A thing that Batman is emphasized, either called out, twisted, or taken to a further extreme. As is the case in Batman Returns villains, they reflect parts of Batman. Catwoman is the struggle with a dual identity. Shrek is the wealthy plutocrat. Penguin was born into prosperity, but because of circumstances and the cruelty of others, he grew up to be a strange man with a terrible mission.
And toss them into a deep, dark, watery grave!
So, is there a theme, a feature of the holiday season we might say is part of Christmas's dark side, as true as joy and love? How about loneliness and isolation? Themes which are very, very prominent in Batman Returns. They are as important as all those dark shadows juxtaposed with the pure white snow of the December holidays. Bruce and Selina are lonely people, strangers who struggle to connect. Selina is isolated by her gender and her class. People have hurt her, and once she's liberated, she pushes away anyone who might help her, and despite coming to life, she ultimately remains alone. Bruce, and perhaps his most classic Batman trait, is isolated by the mission. We find Bruce at the start of the film, brooding, shut down, like without a crime wave to fight, he just stops. A machine waiting to be activated. Only after the tree lighting ceremony does he come to life. His relationship with Vicky Vale is gone, because he can no longer sustain his non-Batman side. He is alone, unable to relate, to connect, and then here comes this person who can understand that perfectly. But both are in conflict with these two truths of themselves: the hurt people and the beasts the hurt has unleashed, that has consumed or is consuming the other side of them. The lonely people who could connect with someone who understands, and the beasts that are set at war with each other. The classic thing to say is, the holidays stop being magical when you stop being a kid. You grow out of magic. But that's not always true for every year, is it? They can be magical again, as an adult. Have you ever been in love during the holidays? Like, had the honeymoon phase of a relationship during the holiday season? One of the best months of my life was one of those. Every day, and especially the nights, was as or more euphoric as the best childhood holiday. When you're out in public, there is this crackling of energy between you, and you feel magnetized, and the world is revolving around you, and everyone else is in good cheer because it's like radiating off you. Love and goodwill is everywhere. The whole world is overflowing with dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. And when you're alone together, that energy is concentrated, building in a positive feedback loop that no matter how cold it is outside, it can't touch you because the pair of you are making the warmth. It's like you're inside this timeless, magical snow globe. This peace and joy and excitement and wonder and love will always be happening. There is no pain in all the world, no problem that cannot be solved, because look at this person with you. They are the ultimate proof that the world and life and the universe is good. And everything about the season compounds it. It's the perfect setting for all of that. Yeah, I had that one year. But I've had other years. I had one where I spent most of the season alone, doing pretty much what Bruce is doing at the beginning of the movie. And then I went out into the town square where I was surrounded by thousands of people, watching fireworks, and I was unable to feel anything. I was locked outside of the snow globe no matter what I did. All of my thoughts were of loneliness and failure and death, and I felt so broken and so wrong. And in the face of the snow globe, I felt just so alone, more alone in public than if I'd just stayed in my goddamn room. More alone as I stood in contrast to the denizens who could properly enjoy the holiday season. It was nobody's fault. Not mine, not the people who were having a good holiday. Bruce and Selena could have that first Christmas. They could connect, find some peace and comfort and happiness in each other. Because that's the thing about the holiday season, it can be wonderful inside the snow globe. If internal and external conditions allow you to keep the issues of reality out, or maybe it would be better to say, keep the reality of the rest of the year out. The reality of obsession, the reality of mental illness, the reality of pain, the reality of working 80 hours a week and not being able to afford gifts, the reality of not having family or friends, the reality of one kind of illness or another. I tend to think that what you can receive from the holidays is usually what you go in with. Like a chem-based brain trip, if you know what I'm saying. If you're doing alright, the holidays will be alright. If you're doing good, they'll be great. And if you're doing bad, well, crippling loneliness, unbearable isolation on top of whatever was already going on. None of these characters can keep the reality of the conditions that follow them through their lives out of that holiday season. Selena must go after revenge against those that have hurt her. Which isn't to say that Selena's vendetta, her trauma response, isn't understandable on multiple levels. Though, I do fall into the camp of...
You know, psychologically speaking, vengeance rarely brings the catharsis we hope for. Yeah.
Bruce must go on with the mission and let that part of himself expand. And by the time he feels capable of reaching for the connection he and Selena could have, realizing that they could maybe be in the snow globe, if only for a little while, when he can put down his obsession that says because she is Catwoman, he needs to arrest her or kill her? He's pretty murdery. She can't. It's too late. They are alone. Or maybe it always was too late, because sometimes people just can't. They can't stop hurting enough to try for some comfort, to accept some shelter, to let go of things. And you know something? I think Bruce gets that. My headcanon is while he regrets being unable to help Selina, and he misses her, I think at the end of the film he absolutely understands why she did what she did. I think he understands perfectly why she turned him down. Unless of course you want to go with a feminist read of the situation, and Selina surrendering to Bruce would mean surrendering her newly claimed power and agency. If so, he might not get that. But you know, in that case, she still doesn't have to take revenge. Living well is the best revenge after all. Which, given the end of the film, I assume she does. But I digress. This video isn't about that reading. It's about the holidays and loneliness and the inability of people to always forget about their struggles and their demons when our culture has an expectation that we should. Yeah, I think that's what this is about. I know this probably doesn't sound very profound, but given the way the social expectation of be happy, or if you can't be happy, act happy,
Be normal!
falls on us all every December, I think it is worth saying, because as an expectation of behavior, it's at the very least freaking unreasonable, and likely often unkind. At best, it's us taking alternating years, making things hard for each other. And that makes me think about a thing I've definitely been guilty of. Maybe instead of calling certain people Scrooges or Grinches, maybe that's something we should be more cognizant of. Or at least I should be more cognizant of. That the holidays don't necessarily make things better for everyone. I mean, not just knowing, but appreciating it, acting on it, maybe recognizing that reality and treating it with some sympathy can help those that are not enjoying the final month of the year. Help them feel a little better, because it's as real and as true and as human as the joy. Offer companionship, wish them well, but don't try to force festivities onto those who are not feeling it, because it's probably not going to make them feel better. It may just force them to act, to pretend for your benefit. Compulsory happiness, and instead of feeling understood, they'll just feel more alone. Related to all this, we gotta talk about that end. I think there's a few different reasons we have all these holidays at the end of the year, these celebrations, why they're in December. Some of them are less than good. Christian hegemony. But the important one to talk about here is victory and hope. No one would call the end of Batman Returns a great victory. But sometimes victory is just making it through. Surviving. Maybe being a little better in some way than you were before.
You're not just saving a life. You're saving your... Shut up. You're going to jail.
So much can happen in a year. So much loss and pain. But if you make it to the end, there's always the hope that next year things may improve because you've survived and grown, and you can't survive a year without growing. I think that's the significance, sometimes a cold significance, of the season. It's a period of tying things off with the start of something new on its way. That's the victory and the hope. That's the good reason to acknowledge the final month of the year however you can. However is best for you. And if you're like me and you consider the 90s Batman quadrilogy to be about one character with a definitive arc throughout, even with the changing directors and actors, then I see that reflected here. This film is this Batman's Heart of Darkness. But here he learns to have some empathy for the criminals he fights, to see them as human, to no longer be a cold-blooded killer. And by doing so, he will make Gotham better. And that's where his story and character picks up in Batman Forever. After this film terminates on Christmas Eve, he's gone through the year and come out the other side. Not doing well, but wiser, with the chance to get better, to be better. And to me, that's what December, that's what the holiday season is really about. Turns out, if you take the Christ out of Christmas, or heaven forbid, you take the Christmas out of the holidays, you still have something pretty profound and powerful and meaningful, maybe even more so. And it's a secular view of the season that can be embraced by everyone. I think, at least. And all of that recognition and the display of aspects of the holiday that are not only not often thought about, but are often shunned during the season, I think that means Batman Returns meets 2 out of the 3 criteria. Furthermore, if we accept this dark side as component, not antithesis idea, if we accept that these themes do not run counter to Christmas, but instead recognize and accept the holiday in its totality, then I must merely and respectfully disagree with my intellectual superiors. Batman Returns is not an anti-Christmas film, as they have said. It's just a Christmas film, and an important one at that. Now to tie off the channel for the year. We've almost made it. We are victorious, so I hope you have a good holiday season, and if you can't for whatever reason, I get it. And I hope things can grow brighter for you next year. I hope we're all a little wiser and a lot less lonely. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the ring-a-ding thing. If you have a comment, I'd love to chat. Always remember, doing that stuff is incredibly inexpensive for you, but means the world to me. In any case, peace on Earth and goodwill towards men and women and NBs. Happy holidays. Bye!